Yes, guys. It's your boy Si, aka the Mancunian. Welcome to a Gunner Talk. If you've not just watched my latest one on catching up with all the players from pre-season, go check that out. I said I'd do it in two parts because I didn't want him, to drag like a seal's ass and it'd be sort of 3 hours long, just one. So I split it into two bits. That one talking about pre-season, everyone that's played and having a look at them. Then this one's going to be all the other stuff, just normally answering your guys' questions about everything that's going on in and around the club. So let's crack on with this Gunner Talk. First and foremost, we've got some more signings. Happy days. Really interesting. The Saliba one, it's a bit of a tricky one for me because our signings and what we're looking to do are dragging on that much. We're dragging our heels big time. Or so it seems from what we're getting, the information we're getting. By the time they're actually happening, I've lost my enthusiasm somewhat. Not to say I wasn't excited about the idea of Saliba signing, because I'm incredibly excited about that signing. But because it's dragged on for so many months, it's sort of, when it gets announced, it's just like, yay, I expected that. I much prefer that we know nothing and then all of a sudden, bang, you see, Stu McFarlane goes a bit quiet and everyone goes, ooh, it's happening, and then we just see a player in a shirt. I much prefer that underhand nature and the element of surprise rather than knowing what you're getting. Like I say, the longer it drags on, you sort of get less enthusiastic about it. But, let's not be silly about this. A massive signing. If he carries on the trajectory he's on at the moment, and as I alluded to in one of my earlier videos, for me, he's up there with De Ligt. He's just not had as much exposure, considering the teams that they play for. What Saint-Etienne have done this season compared to Ajax. For me, it's just that De Ligt has been much more in the limelight and, much more easier to sort of weigh up how good he is. Whereas Saliba's going much more under the radar. And I think he'll go less under the radar now next year. I think a lot more people will be looking at him now they know that he'll be coming to us. And that we've took an interest and signed him, that obviously the Sharks will start smelling blood in the water and going, well, could we wrestle him out of Arsenal's hands in a couple of seasons' time? Quite possibly, but yeah, it alludes to sort of people talking about, when I talk about the Ceballos signing, is that, we don't want to be a stepping stone to a bigger club. Look, if players the likes of Saliba, Ceballos, other big name players that have huge futures want to use us as a stepping stone and stay at the club for 3 or 4 years, I have no issue with that. I don't expect anyone to stay forever, and if they can just, perform at a sort of 8 out of 10 level for while they are here, that does me. Nothing lasts forever, and as long as we're getting capable replacements, I don't care about that. I really don't. I don't see any shame in it whatsoever. I think it's just what certain people are using because they're pretty jealous of the signings that we've made, and it's the only comeback they've got really, is the only stick to beat us with. It doesn't wash for me. Although it's not an instant impact and excitement, in my earlier video I said I think there's a lot more value to loaning him out for a year, considering that we've got already numbers at centre back, and although they're not good enough, as many of us would consider, they're not going anywhere. So what is the point in having certain squad players that then would be behind him in the pecking order? What that would mean for certain other players. You look at Medley, he's older than him. You look at Mavropanos, he's older than him. What would that say to them if he comes in and starts straight away? Then you're sort of killing certain players' careers at the club, without really aiding one person's cause. So I'm happy that we're just leaving him there for a year. I really am, and I think he'll come back a much better player than what we'd get this year. So I'm all for that. I think he's a great sign. I think we paid really good money for him. And it goes along with, Raul winning me back over a bit with his outsmarting the market. Well, this is certainly a sign of it. Our signings last year I thought were really clever, and although not quite enough, it was a good starting, a good building block to restructuring the squad. And I think this is another massive part of it. So I'm really delighted this lad came, and I really enjoyed his announcement video as well. That was, just sort of tunes beating in the background. Just sort of, I thought it was really cool. I just liked it, really understated, and it did get me excited. I thought I really can't wait to see this lad go next year. And possibly him and Holding's the future at centre back, and if they both fulfil the promise, the future looks good, doesn't it? So that was really fabulous. And just before that, we had the news of Ceballos signing on loan for the year. I wasn't keen on this deal at first because I thought I would, if it's a player that we've got no ability to keep him permanently after it, I don't really see much value in it. Then I sort of took a step back, had a bit more of a look at it, and I thought, is it just an instant Xhaka replacement? Has he gone, well, Xhaka's not good enough, we can't quite get rid of him, right, we need somebody this year to sort of make up for the loss of Ramsey, possibly can do a bit more defensive graft. So, he could kill two birds with one stone sort of thing. So I looked at it again and I thought, even if we can't get him on loan, if he helps us, for me, the upside to sign him is if he can help us get top four or win the Europa League and oust Xhaka as a first teamer and expose his weaknesses, possibly the same with Ozil, I'm all for it. And I do think there probably is wiggle room, although we've not put in a definite number for what we could sign him for. I think it's win-win. I think it suits him. He's sort of said he sees his future at Real Madrid. So he's going to want to have a big season for us. He's not going to have a future at Real Madrid if he bombs out for us. And if he does perform well for us, trying to get back in the Real Madrid setup, but they don't see him as part of it, he might just really enjoy his season at Arsenal and go, I like it here now. That's not unfeasible that might happen. And like I say, looking and knowing his game, I'm really excited by this one now. An instant first teamer, it'd ease the pressure on Willock, it'll ease the pressure on Guendouzi that we put too much on last year. It puts real pressure on Xhaka to start performing, so as much as I don't like him, and I think he's a bit of a banter player, it might help him raise his game to 7 or 8 out of 10s weekly, and if it does that, then bonus. So looking at our window so far, Martinelli coming in looking a good signing already, and a real clever, shrewd one. Ceballos coming in, and I thought it was really interesting his comments about Unai, sort of undecided about where he was going or what he might do until Unai picked up the phone, and then he was like, well, I've played for this guy before, I really rate him, I think he's a top class tactical manager, he'll help me improve my game. So some of you that are Unai haters, you've got to realise this guy's got clout. And you can't say it's with humdrum, middle of the road players. This guy's a player that a lot of people in world football rate very highly and has a massive future. So for him to directly name Unai as a big reason he's came, that's another feather in the cap for Unai Emery for me. And I love the comments from both of them. Sort of Spurs who, never heard of them. I'd have to Google that club to find out who they are. I think that's fabulous, and the fact that these players would rather come to us with Europa League than play for Spurs with Champions League and a big shiny new stadium and the world's greatest manager, it's just pure comedy for me. I had to chuckle. As much as I don't care about the fuckers down the road, I still had to laugh. And then in the same day we got Ozil paying him. That kid had said, I didn't realise Ozil was in our team picture, and he was like, yeah, you can, just like your trophy haul or whatever it was. I chuckled. I thought, Ozil, I think he's going to try and win us all back round this year, and he needs to. But I think he's capable of doing it, and I can see it happening. With that haircut, like I've said in my video I've just posted, it screams alpha Mesut Ozil season for me. I just thought all that in one day. What a nice day that was for us. We've not had many days in the sun of late. But as far as good days go, that really cheered me up. I was just sat in the hospital waiting for my mum having a chemo. I just sat there pretty bored playing games on my phone, and then it was just like bam, 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 banging on my door, and it was like, wow, yes, I love it. Right, let's use this as a springboard to do a bit more, and keep that happy atmosphere and that, keep the positive vibes going. So I love that Ozil sort of chipped in. Next one I was asked about was the Overmars comments. You guys know I'm a big fan of Ziyech. And Ozil is somebody, although I would have got rid of, I wouldn't be in a huge rush to get rid of, because we know there's a world-class player in there if you can be asked to find it. But for Overmars, his comments were pretty strong, weren't they? He didn't hold back, did he? Sort of, it seems madness, that I've sort of put the idea to Arsenal that this guy's available for 30 million euros, and you should get rid of Ozil for him and you'd be much better off. It was really out there. But, I liked it. I like that. I like no nonsense characters. I'm one myself. You know where you sit with me. If you ask me in my opinion on you, I'll tell you. I won't bullshit you. If I don't like you, I'll tell you to your face. If I love you, I'll kiss your face. I'm not a grey person. So it's everything's black and white with me pretty much. And that seemed very similar, where it was no messing about. It was just, this is how it is, you know, and this is what my comments are about a club I love and I feel, you know, strongly towards. I couldn't say he was wrong, to be honest. I just don't think it was, you know, when you get ex-players and people, and I just don't think it, you know, how realistic is it what he's saying? You know, I think if it was realistic, it had possibly happened already. If we could really get rid of Ozil and he wanted to leave, and then we needed to get a replacement, you know, Fekir just going for 18 million or whatever, Ziyech's available cheap. You know, I think if that was there to be done, the club would have moved on it. So as much as I like the comments, I don't really think they added much value or help much in the current situation. But you know, maybe, you know, I'm sure Ozil might have seen those comments and then he goes, "Oh, you cheeky fucking little Dutch midget," you know, right, I'll show you. So, you know, we could gain stuff from it. And just sticking along the comments thing, somebody asked me about Sven's interview and what did I think about that, and I just thought he's coming off a very bitter man to me, very sour grapes. I'm not sure about this. We guaranteed that he'd be director of football, whatever it is. I'm not sure. That just seems to me like somebody maybe mentioned it in passing and he got fixated on it. I do believe we brought him in as chief scout and he was told that that would be his position. Sorry guys, a bit of heartburn. And he sort of believed that he would get more and then thrown his toys out the pram when it's been, you know, obviously offered out to other people and he's been overlooked. You know, it's, who do we know that, you know, I keep saying it about scouts and these roles, a bit like Edu. What can you directly attribute to him? What can you directly say that was definitely him? You know, signings that have come in, which ones were definitely Sven signings and which weren't? I don't think anybody really knows. You know, I'm sure a lot will assume that Aubameyang, Socrates, Torreira were his type of side, Leno, but they were all his signings. I'm not entirely sure. And I wasn't that bothered when he left. As good as I think he would be, you know, I alluded to it at the time where I said, you know, you go for a job interview and they sort of ask you where you see yourself in 5 years' time, or you ask them, you know, where do you see me in 5 years' time? I don't believe he went into that interview taking the chief scout role without the question being asked, and I think he will have been told straight out that no, you won't be director of finance anytime soon. We're hiring you as chief scout, and that's how it stays, mate. That's what we want you for. And then obviously once the reality of that set in for him, and that is what his role was going to be, and that there wasn't any room for movement, he's just thrown his toys out the pram. So I don't really care what he's got to say, to be honest. He's coming across as a very bitter little man to me, and a bit embarrassing. He's just like, jog on, pal. You know, well, let's see what he goes and does at Stuttgart, and if he blows, you know, everyone out the water there, jury's out for me with him. You know, and then once again, we're staying on the comments thing. You know, we've had that Q&A, which I'll talk about in a minute, but Josh's comments, somebody asked me, what did I make of those? You know, this We Care Do You movement, you know, that's caused a lot of controversy, a lot of people saying they're using it just for clout, rather than actually being behind it. I'm not so sure about it. I think there's probably a few have jumped on the bandwagon trying to raise their own personal profile. But I'm, you know, looking at some of the accounts that are involved, are big Arsenal people, and I don't think they care about, you know, these are some accounts that, although have clout within the fan base, don't have a massive social media clout, and they're just known within the inner circles of the people that are Arsenal people. So I don't think they really care. They're a bit like me. They don't really care if they've got sort of 2,000 followers or 200,000. That's not what it's about. It's all about the club. You know, they'd rather run their profiles facelessly and be about Arsenal than be about them as a person. And I didn't like his comments. You know, obviously the We Care Do You stuff came out, and the joining the petition, and that gathered momentum pretty quick. And then this interview with Josh happened pretty straight off the back of it. You know, a lot of people saying he's felt that he's had to come out and make a statement on it because it was gathering momentum, and you know, it had the right people behind it, which is what I said. You know, it had to be the right people doing it in the right way, just not buying shirts doesn't wash, or you know, not turning up to games, or going to games and walking out. That's fucking proving nothing to the club. You know, when he came out and made these comments, you know, and he said about the fans should get really excited, you should be dead excited, and I sort of thought, what? You know, and obviously he was talking about signings, and I thought, well, yeah, some of the signings that will come in will be exciting, but let's not get it twisted, pal. There's a bare minimum that has to happen in this window. You know, you can bring in 4 players this window. Will I be excited? No, because it'd be the minimum the club needs. And that's where I sort of drew a line, and I was like, does he think that, you know, signing Saliba and Ceballos on loan will excite the fans? I think they're exciting signings, but does it get me massively excited where it overweighs and overshadows what I believe we need, which is that, you know, we can go out and get Zaha and Pep. You know, they're exciting signings. Do I think that they'll make us a miles better team? No, because we'll have the same defence and the same Xhaka in the middle of the park, and we'll struggle. So, you know, unless we're going scoring 6 and trying to not let other teams score 6, it doesn't really mean a massive difference to me. So I didn't like his comments, I really didn't. And I felt that he's just spoke because he's been forced to. You know, I saw people giving him credit. Well, at least he's come out and said something. I don't think he had a choice. And, you know, so other people saying, well, he's taking charge, you know, and it's not Stan. Well, you know that from looking at his other sport franchises, that Josh is the head of the SKE brand, and that he is the man that runs the franchise. He's not Stan. He just obviously goes to his dad for a nod and a wink when he needs it, you know, an acknowledgement and backing to make decisions. And then when he came out and, you know, and said basically the fans' job is to just shut up and support the team, I really didn't like that, because I felt, look, pal, we've been doing that since your dad ever took over, and what we're getting back in return, you know, it's only now that there's this momentum that you've actually come out and said something, and that, you know, and like I say we just should shut up and support the club. That's my idea of negligence, you know, and that's what's been going on behind the scenes and why we're in such a fucking mess. So that's the last thing I think fans should do, is just sit here and soak it up, you know, and take it on the chin like he's suggesting, because we've been doing that for way too long. I've been doing that for over a decade now, and I'm fucking sick of it. And I'm sure there's many that feel the same about me. But I do believe people will have took positives from him and go, you know, well, at least he has come out and said something. At least he's fronted up. And a bit like the Q&A, you know, I was disappointed that certain people used it as a forum to vent, rather than letting certain other people that were there that can articulate themselves, you know, ask questions where we get answers, or at least make them squirm a bit. And that got wasted by people just swearing and ranting and by some fucking players. But it surprised me. It's a bit of a tricky one, because you can't really blame. There's no point, you know, it's like being on hold to customer service and ranting at them. It's not their fault, is it? They're just doing a job. You know, so you don't hammer them, you just talk to them, the people. And I felt that way with Raul. He looked a bit of a rabbit in the headlights, and I think he was a bit shocked at how passionate a lot of fans feel about the shit state we're in, and he doesn't really see that we're in that shit state. And what I thought is a bit of naivety on his side, that he should know what he's walked into, which is a cauldron of hatred towards the club from a lot of people, because we've been treading water for a long time. And although what he's doing is really good from what I've seen so far, he can't overlook what's gone on before him. As much as he's not to blame, he can't expect fans to go, well, you've come in so we wiped the slate clean. We've been butthurt for a lot of years now. So for him to seem sort of shocked that there was such animosity from the fans surprised me, and I thought that's very sort of naive of him to think that he was going to walk in and everyone would go, the saviour is here. You know, that's not going to happen. It's going to take a while of his hard work before we all get fully on side again. You know, and it made me laugh with Vinay when he was asked about, you know, did he think it was a good season, you know, what we managed, and he said no. But, you know, if we'd have finished 4th and won the Europa League, he still wouldn't have seen that as an achievement, and it's not where he sees the club. And then he was asked about winning the league this year, and he went, no chance. And people saw their arse over it. Well, what sort of mentality is that, and all the rest of it? Guys, what do we want? You know, we've been moaning about getting fed shit by Ivan for so many years, and now you've got a guy that's being honest to your face, and you're still not happy about that. So which one is it you want? You know, do you honestly believe we'll win the league this year? I think you look and you go, well, it wouldn't shock you massively if we were up there and about, but do you realistically believe we're going to win the league? No. So how can you be mad at a guy for, you know, mirroring your own thoughts deep down when you're really honest about it? So I enjoyed the fact that he didn't bullshit us and go, yeah, we're going to walk the league, we'll piss the Europa. He didn't. He said, look, realistically, no. You know, that's not part of our trajectory at the minute. And I think that's realistic. You know, we've got to this year just look at back in the Champions League. You know, because we can't go another season out of that then, because that's for me when we really start to get issues. I think there's a lot of players that will take one more year of it this year, and that'll be where they draw the line and go, this isn't enough. You know, I'd rate myself better. And I think the big guys behind the scenes realise that this club, you know, is of a large stature. You know, we're one of the top 10 clubs in the world, stature-wise. You know, we're not playing like it, we're not performing like it. So we've got to get back there. So this year, it'd be silly for us to be looking at winning the league. Let's just look at third place. Let's win that league that's behind City and Liverpool realistically. Can we be better than Tottenham? Yes. Can we be better than Chelsea? Yes. Can we be better than Man United? Yes. Can we be better than City and Liverpool? Possibly, but it's not really realistic. So that's where we've got to pitch ourselves. And I liked his realism, and I much prefer a guy that's straight-laced. And even if there's a bit of cloak and daggers and bullshit, at least he's being, or even attempting to be honest with us, which isn't what we were getting before. So I enjoyed the fact he said that. Like I say, it was just a bit sad that whole thing got cut short by people ranting rather than asking, you know, good in-depth questions that would put them on the spot and they'd have to answer or ignore. You know, that was a shame, but that was that one. So I've been asked about the 5 captains again. You know, I laughed last week and I said, you know, we were all against the 5 captains idea really in the main, and I don't like this. Until then it looks obvious that Xhaka's going to be captain. Then everyone's going, well, if he's captain, I'd rather have 5 of them, because just him as the captain's are awful. You know, I keep saying I'd rather have Pugwash, Birdseye, or Captain Kanish, you know. And I stand by that. But he's going to be one of the captains, and I'll just have to suck it up. And I hope he surpasses my... You know, I dislike him, and I don't think he's much value. But if he goes and puts out 8 out of 10s every week this year, I'll get behind him, but I just don't see that happening. I'll eat my fucking shoes when it does, because I just don't. I'm that confident it won't. And I think the added pressure of him being leaned on as a captain, he'll just crumble more and more, because he's got a weak mentality for me, like some of the other senior pros. So for me, it'll be him, possibly Nacho. I mean, I'd like to see Leno, Socrates, Holding, Laka, maybe one more, I don't know, but that's who I'd sort of like to see. What we're probably likely to see is Socrates possibly. I'm not sure about the 5 captains, guys. I'm not. I just know I don't want to see one that's Xhaka. Make Mustafi one of the captains if he's a captain. Let's take the piss full. Let's have Jenkinson, Nacho, Kolasinac, Mustafi, Xhaka as captains. Why the fuck not? The banter anyway, so let's just have banter captains, eh? Let's get on with it. Let's go foot all out if we're going to go for it. So yeah, I'm sorry guys, he's not much into that, but that's how I just see the 5 captain stuff. Asked about the Koscielny situation. What do I make of how that's panning out? It's awful. I'm really disappointed. I said, you know, as soon as the news broke that I don't like this idea of, well, make him sit and suffer and let him freeze. Where's the value in that? What's the point? You know, we're still paying his wages. We're not going to be able to stop paying his wages. So ship him out. Get rid of him. Making him sit and suffer like that, I just think is a negative influence on the under-23s. I don't like it. And, you know, this talk of that he's seeking legal advice and all that, I think, really disappointing, mate, because I said, you know, instantly when the news came out, look, there's always 2 sides to a story. Before you all say he's shit, he's had a shit career, he's a bang average player, he's a wank captain, you know, and say all those pathetic toys out the pram things when they're not actually true. Let's see his side, and we got his side, and I thought, well, fair enough. It seems like the club of, you know, the previous regime gave him a sort of gentleman's agreement, and the current regime haven't, and he's sort of saying, well, this wouldn't have happened under Wenger, and all I think is fucking good. I'm glad that this people like you now are you know, rattled, and you took out your comfort zone, and you've realised now, like I keep saying, Butlins FC is over as far as I'm concerned. And as quickly as this new regime can do it, they will weed out the shit. They know that you know, it's only going one way with the fans if certain players keep playing and letting us down. The atmosphere is going to just keep getting gradually worse and worse and worse, and gathering momentum until it's at a point where something has to be done. So I think they're just trying to compartmentalise certain people out, certain in. Then again, in little chunks, bite-sized chunks. And although it's not happening a full-scale sort of mix-up of the squad, which I'd have liked. You know, I'd have liked to see 10 out and 10 in. It doesn't work like that in reality. It's not FIFA. So the way they're sort of doing a chunk last year, 5 out, 5 in. Again, if they can do that this year, 5 out, 5 in, we're making progress. And I'm really behind that. And for me, he's one now, you know, there's been talk saying he's agreed contracts with Bordeaux, Rennes, I think. Let's just, you know, people said to me, well, let's just get 10 million for him. And I said, I don't know where you're basing 10 million on, off his age and his, you know, his recent injury record. Let's just take anything over 2.5 for me. It just is a little Brucey bonus. You know, he's not someone we're going to make a fortune off. And I don't like this situation now and the atmosphere of him staying in and around the club. So let's just take him up on one of these agreements, get him out the club, whether it's for nothing or a minimal payment, and let's move on. Because it's obvious he's not going to come back into the fold. So that's it for me. And just, yeah, really piss poor attitude from him. I'm really disappointed. He's not someone who I've been a huge fan of, but I admire the job he's done for us, and now he has ruined it for me. You know, whether he's unhappy with the club or not, his ways and means of going about things and acting in a correct manner, and for me he's not. He's acting like a petulant kid, so now we should treat him like one, and he can do one for me. That's the cos one. What do we have next? Well, let's start talking about, you know, players that might come in still. You know, we've done a bit of work. You know, let's say Saliba coming in. You know, that's done now, but we won't see him till next year. Ceballos on loan, so we might not see him the season after, unless he really enjoys it at the club. So we still need stuff at the club this minute. And for me, the minimum of what we need is still, we need a left back, we need a centre back for this season, and possibly a starting winger. You know, I would have liked a box-to-box defensive midfielder, but we've got Ceballos now, so that goes out the window for me in the short term. And maybe easier to Lola Inca can step in, or Burton, or one of these guys. So that's sorted. So, you know, the left back thing, it's still all eggs in the Kieran Tierney shaped basket, isn't it? You know, there was talks of people saying this third bid, it's not happened, it has happened, it's not. It's a strange one for me, because I don't think it'll be a third bid in terms of upping the bid. I just think it'll be a third bid in terms of restructuring, where we give them more money up front and we stagger the payments. I think, you know, I said a deal will get done between 22.5 and 27.5 million, or 25 to 30, and I think that's a fair deal, and I still believe that's where this deal will happen, money-wise, number-wise. I do really believe that, and I do think he'll be an Arsenal player before the window shuts. And I'll be very disappointed if we put all our energy into him and we don't end up with him, and we haven't lined up somebody as an alternative, which makes me believe that we're very confident of making it happen. I said that he won't jump until he's told they've accepted a deal. He's not going to push his way out because he's a Celtic lad. You know, and I don't think he's going to look to ruin personal relationships he has, because he is a Celtic fan, you know, born and bred, so he's not going to push his way out. It'll only be when they go, look, we've accepted a bid, he'll jump in and go, right, all right, I'll further my career, as much as I enjoy being here. So I still think that deal's very much on. I just think we're going to now weigh up what else we can do and what we've got left before we have that one last final push to get him in, but I do still believe he's high up on the agenda. Centre-back's the worrying one, where there's no noise at all, and I don't care if it's just someone in on loan. I do feel we need one more body. You know, I was really disappointed to see Hermoso go to Atletico Madrid for sort of around 20 million, and you know, we should have found that sort of money to get somebody like him in this window. And there's still some very good centre-backs out there available for that kind of number, so it's got to happen for me. And like I say, it doesn't really matter what we do forward of that. You know, if we don't bring in a left back and a centre back, we're going to have to score 4, 5, 6 goals every week to win matches, as far as I'm concerned, because we'll leak still. You know, especially when you look that Hector won't be fit and Holding won't be fit to start the season well into it. You know, we're looking at a starting lineup of Monreal, you know, Mustafi and Socrates, or Socrates and Chambers, and Jenkinson or Ainsley. That, you know, does that fill you guys for going up against Liverpool and Spurs in the first month? It doesn't fill me with much optimism. So we still need a body at centre back, but I'm not hearing any rumours, whispers or anything, so that really fills me with dread at the minute. You know, the big one at the moment, the winger position, that's really gathering momentum now. You know, however you stand on the Zaha thing, I think we're mad to look at paying any more than sort of, you know, I've said if it was in my hands I wouldn't have bid for him at all, because I just don't rate the guy that highly. I think it'd be a real boo-boo to weighing up all the pros and cons of him to go and spend 50 north and 50 mil for him, I think would be mental, and it's sort of signal that we're still in the banter era for me. That's gone very quiet because it seems that now Palace have got the money for Wan-Bissaka. They're not in any pressure, under any pressure to sell. I think a deal could have maybe have happened before he went. Now he's gone. I think this is dead in the water. I really do, and I said that weeks ago. I just don't see any way that there'll be a compromise made. I was told that we don't want to pay anything more than 55 as a number, and then including players, and they want sort of 60 plus. So I just think this is still a dead deal. I just don't see any way it happens, or there's any common ground found between the two clubs. And I feel sorry for Palace because I think they're cutting the nose off to spite the face. I think they should have sort of talked, 50, 60 million and started again. And although he's a very valuable player to them, is he that much of a valuable player if he doesn't want to be there anymore and he feels like they're now not holding up their end of the bargain? It's a dangerous game they're playing. And they're calling our bluff, and I think we're going to call their bluff back, and they're going to just end up with him because I don't see who else comes in and pays that sort of money. There's been a mumble about Everton might be interested. Now they might have the money to go and get him, and I think that's probably his level. Same as Welbeck. I don't think he should have ever been at a club like us. And Everton. No disrespect to them, but that is his level. So that's the Zaha, the Everton. Talking on the Everton, but not the club, the player. I know there was mutterings that we were definitely pushing around ideas of bringing him in. I believe the massive stumbling block on this one now is the ownership, and the money that then goes out of the game and who owns him and all the rest of it, and they're sort of talking up sort of 60 million euros plus. We're not going to go and spend that on him. I think if we're going to spend 60 million, it would be on somebody way more established and proven, or with a much higher top end. So I think this one's pretty dead in the water, to be honest. And like I say, that ownership thing, I think if they owned him outright, we'd be a lot further down the line of bringing him in. We'd have moved on from Zaha much quicker and just jumped onto him. Same as how we were looking at Malcolm. So yeah, I think that one's pretty dead in the water for me, and it's getting a sort of 1 out of 10 at the moment of likelihood of happening. Here's the real one that's gathered pace, guys. Nicholas Pepe. This one's come right back to the forefront. Plenty of people suggesting that we've reached an agreement with them. Talking about sort of 80 million euros, and people panicking that we've not got any money. But look at the numbers that we're looking at paying any of these guys. Zaha 60 million plus, Everton sort of 60 million euros plus, and then Pep 80 million euros. We can't have no money, guys, can we? Because there's no smoke without fire. There's too many of these winger rumours that we're looking to spend 50 and sterling on somebody. So we're gonna spend more than this 40 budget for me. We're not a million miles of it now. We've not really brought anybody into the club apart from a £7 million young Brazilian. So we're gonna have to spend some more, and I think there is more there to be spent. Like I say, I know for a fact that these have been serious bids and interest in these players. So the fact that it says to me, we wouldn't be doing that unless we had the clout behind it, and the dollar bills, y'all, to make it happen. So I think there's plenty of legs in this. And for me personally, if it was a choice between Zaha and Pep, it's Pep all day for me. Much higher ceiling, much young. If you ever wanted to move on to a bigger club, better club, in terms of current form. We would still make money on him, or always retain what we paid. So I think there's way more behind it, and I think in terms of style of play, he'd bring much more to the table as well. Much more team-based player, where I think Zaha's maybe too used to being a one-man band and carrying it. And like I say, when all the play doesn't go through him and it's much more shared out, I don't think he'll be as devastating as he is for. Well, he's not even devastating for Palace, and it's all through him. You can say be playing with a better calibre of players with us, but I don't think his numbers would go up massively. Whereas with Pep, I think I would definitely expect sort of the best part of 15 to 20 goals and assists out of him year in, year out for the next 5 years. So he's the one I would now happily we put all our eggs in the basket. Just for me, I would have liked these mutterings to be happening once we'd already brought in a left back and a centre back. I'd be much more comfortable with it. And as much as I'll sing and dance if we do bring in Nicholas Pepe, I will still in the back of my mind be going, why have we gone and spent 80 million euros on another attacking player when goals weren't our problem? But like I've said so many times, sometimes you can only identify certain targets at certain points, and maybe we just don't see that there's another centre back that there's any value in bringing in right now, and we're just trying to sit and suffer. But we do believe this is now the only time, like Saliba, that we can make Nicholas Pepe happen. So, although it's we want a centre back more, we need a winger. He's available now, and this is when he's going to move. So let's do that now, and then we'll have to look at a centre back further down the line. It's tricky. It's really tricky. But at least we'll have sort of at centre back. We'll have Holding coming back. We've got Chambers back. Bielik is still knocking around. He's not left the club yet. So that does make me feel a bit more optimistic than it just being sort of Socrates, Koscielny and Mustafi. So it has slightly improved, although it's not mind-blowing. It probably won't still be good enough. We could probably cope a little bit better. And if we were 1 point off fourth last year with them lot, I do think we can get a bit nearer with Holding fit and Chambers. So it's interesting. It's going to be. I think we're in for a really interesting last end to the window, because I think there is still a couple more deals. I'd say a minimum of 2 are still going to happen, and I hope for 3. So that's my view on that. There's 12 days to go now. I'd have liked our business done a lot sooner, but it hasn't. It's come to this. So I'm just everything crossed now, and I'm behind the boys that, like I said, of what went out, if we could sort of bring in 3 to 5 youth players to fill gaps and players coming back from loans, and then 3 to 5 new signings, will be a much better side. That just then comes down to whether Unai keeps picking Mustafi and Xhaka and Mickey as first teamers. If we bring in a load of these guys and he's 3, what's the point? For this year, like I say, they're the 3 most important that needed replacing in the first team lineup for me. Was another centre back for Mustafi, another centre midfielder for Xhaka, and a winger for Mickey. And if we bring in the centre back and Nicholas Pepe, that happens. Then we've got a centre back, Ceballos in midfield, and Nicholas Pepe instead of Mustafi, Xhaka, and Mickey. That's a million times stronger. Makes us a much stronger unit. Players that could take us on for the next 2 to 5 years, depending on how long they want to stay. So I'd be delighted with that. Like I say, there's still time left. 12 days is a long time. It seems like with us we need 12 years to make a deal happen, but I believe that's because people in the media have been putting snifters out rather than when we're actually being interested. So we think it's taking 6 weeks to 2 months, 3 months to get a player in, when in reality it's probably only taking a couple of weeks, a fortnight. So that's that on the ins. There's not really much, like I say, rumours about anybody else. It seems to have gone very concentrated now. It's not as diluted, and it seems now that there is just sort of 4 or 5 targets that we have really fully honed in on, and that's where we'll make our deals happen. Outgoings, the Koscielny situation, he's got to go. Mustafi, there's not really any murmurings about him going out the door, and I just can't see the value in keeping him in the squad. So I'd sort of be getting rid of him for anything we can just get back in, and we just go again and write it off. Jenkinson, not really any murmurings at the moment on that one. Like I say, I probably do see, for what we'd get for him, a bit of value in maybe keeping. Like I say, that's based on my thoughts of not wanting to see Ainsley at right back anymore because he deserves better. El Neni, there's been some whispers that clubs in Egypt are now possibly looking at him, and a couple of maybe Premier League clubs are interested. Let's just get him out. Anything north of 5 million will do for me. Don't understand why we signed him. Don't understand why he got that new contract and the number 4 shirt. Not that that's a big thing, but your Vieiras and whatever must be, if they were in it, spinning in the graves at the idea of him getting the shirt. Just disgusting. That shouldn't be the legacy of that number 4 shirt. Is Mohamed El Neni. He cut his hair. It's made no difference. Just a banter player, and he's got to go. And like I say, if you're looking further forward in the team of that, there's no murmurings or mutterings or whispers, anything down the grapevine about any of it. So I think our squad, minus maybe El Neni, Jenkinson, is exactly how it's going to be now coming into this season, and we're just going to have to like it, lump it, and get behind all of them, and hope that we bring in a few more bodies, and then the positives outweigh the negatives for me, and that's how I've been looking at it. Although I don't want to watch Mustafi, Xhaka and Mickey play anymore, I will switch my attention to enjoying Eddie, Willock, maybe some of the young lads that get a go, you know, Martinelli, Saka, maybe Ole, Inca, Burton, Gwendo. And then the new guys that come in, you know, possibly Turney, like say Martinelli, possibly Pep, Ceballos. I'll just look forward to that now. So that's it from me, guys. Hope I've answered some of your questions. I'm sorry if yours isn't one that I have answered. Keep them coming in. I will just keep generating the list, and as long as they stay relevant, I will add them into the next show. And once again, guys, thanks for your support. Keep please subscribing, sharing to your mates, getting them involved. Like I say, I want a bigger audience, so I get a bigger range of questions and more subjects and topics to talk over with you guys and get more of you involved, because I would like to, next season going into it, have a different fan on each week, and when it's match day we'll go through the lineup, rate the players, and it just gives me a chance to take a breath for 2 seconds, and while I'm having a think and a break from answering, it gives me a chance to, when something comes in my head, ask that question to somebody else that'll be there available to answer it instantly. So please guys, keep supporting. Love your work. Hope you keep enjoying. Like I say, I've noticed my sub numbers on YouTube have gone up a little bit, so I really want to hit that 75 subs for the start of the season. You know, it's broke my heart a little bit at, you know, being a bit bitter and jealously looking at some other big accounts, and how many subscribers they've got, and I watch the content, and although I, you know, overly rate my own stuff, I do believe my content's a lot better, and mine's a lot more about us rather than me, and I don't feel other, you know, bigger channels are about that. They're about them, and that it's just nice that their profile gets boosted, that they can talk about Arsenal. So please guys, keep supporting and help me out in achieving some goals, and you know, making this a better production, and upping the production value a little bit, and making it a more well-rounded, entertaining show. So that's it from me, guys. Have a lovely Saturday. Game tomorrow, mid-afternoon, so that'll be nice. I think everyone should be able to catch that, depending where in the world you are. And I'll do a game in, if I can get the time. I should be about tomorrow after the match, so I'll do just a purely match-based one on that. So thanks for the love, guys. Have a lovely Saturday. Hope the weather is a bit better where you are than in shitty Manchester. We're back to normal. Take care, guys. Signing out.